Hello friends, this is Dr. Anjani, Assistant Professor in Biotechnology. Welcome to virtual classes in immunology. Today we learn about T lymphocytes and how they bring about immunity, that is by cell mediated immunity. T lymphocytes. T lymphocyte is a type of leukocyte, white blood cell, that is an essential part of the immune system. T cells are one of the two primary type of the lymphocytes. The first one is the B cells that matures in bone marrow. The second type, that is the T lymphocyte. The T cells originate in the bone marrow and mature in the thymus. In the thymus, the T cells multiply and differentiate into helper T cells, regulatory T cells, or cytotoxic T cells. T lymphocytes. So, the different types of T lymphocytes include the helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, and regulatory T cells. These will be differing in the receptor and their function. The T helper cell is also called as TH cell. T helper cell is also called as helper cell, and this T helper cell expresses the CD4 receptor, that is the membrane protein that is specifically present in the T helper cell. Along with that, it has the T cell receptor, which is very specific to MHC2 molecule, major histocompatibility complex 2. So this is regarding the structure of the T cell. It has CD4 receptor and it has the T cell receptor which binds to MHC2 molecule on the antigen presenting cells. The other type of the T cell is the cytotoxic T cell. This cytotoxic T cell, like TH cell, here it expresses CD8 receptor. On its surface it expresses CD8 receptor, and along with that it has the T cell receptor which recognizes specifically MHC1 molecule on the antigen presenting cell. Cytotoxic T cell is CD8 positive and it has the T cell receptor which will bind to MHC1 molecule. The another type of the T lymphocyte which will control the immune reaction, they are referred as T regulatory cells. They express two type of the CD receptor, one is CD4 and another one is CD25 receptor. CD4 and CD25 receptor. And this T regulatory cell expresses the T cell receptor and its binding specificity is not yet identified. So here the T regulatory cells expresses the CD4 as well as the CD25 receptor. So CD25 proteins or the membrane proteins helps in regulating the immune system. Here I told you about the T helper cell and T cytotoxic T cell. Here the T helper cell or this cytotoxic T cell cannot recognize the pathogen as such. Instead, they require the process antigen to be presented on certain cells which exhibit the phagocytosis, like macrophages or antigen presenting cells. These cells exhibit high rate of phagocytosis. They engulf the pathogen. Whenever the infection takes place inside the body, they engulf the pathogen, they digest it, they process it, and they display specific molecule of the pathogen on its surface. So this specific molecule of the pathogen, when it is displayed on the surface of the antigen presenting cell, it will display along with that either MHC1 or MHC2. Either MHC1 or MHC2. So these antigen presenting cells play an important role in activating either T helper cell or the cytotoxic T cells. The antigen presenting cell which display the pathogen specific peptide or the molecule on its surface along with the MHC2 molecule will be recognized by the TH cells or the T helper cells, whereas cytotoxic T cells are activated either by the TH cells or they will be activated by the antigen presenting cell which is displaying the pathogen specific protein on its surface along with the MHC1 molecule. CD4 plus positive and it has the binding specificity for MHC2 molecule is TH cell, whereas the CD8 positive and it has the specificity for the MHC1 is the cytotoxic T lymphocyte. These T helper cells and the cytotoxic T cell differ in their immune reaction they establish inside the organism. As I told earlier, TH cells have the CD4 surface protein and class 2 major histocompatibility complex molecule binding T cell receptor. These TH cells are further classified into TH1 cell and the TH2 cells. That is, they are classified into the T helper cell 1 and T helper cell 2. So these are the general subpopulations of the TH cell. They differ in the molecule they secrete. The TH1 cell primarily produces the cytokines gamma interferons, tumor necrosis factor beta and interleukin 2. TH1 cells produces cytokines gamma interferon, tumor necrosis factor beta and interleukin 2. Whereas TH2 cells mainly synthesizes the interleukins, interleukin 4, interleukin 5, interleukin 6, 9, 10 and 13. The main role of the TH1 cells is to stimulate the cell mediated response, while TH2 cells primarily assist the stimulating B cells to make antibodies. So what is the role of TH1 cell? It stimulates the cell mediated immunity. It stimulates the cell mediated immunity, whereas TH2 cell will signals or it will send the signal or it will activate the B cells to produce the antibodies. So even in our previous classes we had learned that though there are two types of immunity inside the body, they are interdependent and intercalated. Next is TC cells. On its surface it expresses the MHC1 class 1 binding receptor protein and it binds and kills the infected cells and the cancer cells. CD8 positive and MHC1, it kills the infected cells and also cancer cells. TH cells are stimulated by appropriate antigen and secrete chemical messengers called cytokines. TH cells will be activated by antigen presenting cell with the MHC2 molecule, and after it is activated it produces chemical messengers called cytokines, whereas TC cells are stimulated by cytokines secreted by TH cells and they kill infected cells as well as the cancer cells, whereas regulatory cells act to control immune reactions. So TH cells produces cytokines and they activate the phagocytosis or they activate the B lymphocyte, and at the same time they activate the TC cells. The TC cells, they exhibit cytotoxicity by killing the infected cells and the cancer cells. So these are also called as killer T lymphocyte or cytotoxic T lymphocyte. They are referred as cytotoxic T lymphocyte, CTLs. CTLs are nothing but the cells which have the CD8 receptor and they exhibit killing, or they exhibit phagocytosis or cytotoxicity of the infected cells. Such cells are called as killer T cells or cytotoxic T lymphocyte. And the regulatory T cells, whenever there is the increased immune reaction, this it may lead to adverse effect. In such condition, the regulated activity of the immune reaction will be done by, or it will be controlled by, the population of T cells. They are called as regulatory T cells. They control the immune reactions. So till now we learnt about different types of T lymphocyte. Now we'll see how these T lymphocytes are involved in cell mediated immune reaction. This is called so because these cells exhibit cytotoxicity, or they kill the infected or the cancerous cells. Here, as I told earlier, the macrophages, or when there is infection in the cell, the macrophage engulf the pathogen, or it will engulf the infected cell and it will digest it, and after digestion is over, after neutralizing the pathogen or killing the pathogen, it will display specific molecule of the antigen along with the MHC complex or MHC molecule. So depending on the type of the MHC molecule is displayed on its surface, they activate the T cells. If the cells exhibit or they display the antigen with the MHC2, then they are activating or recognized by T helper cell, and they start secreting the cytokines. At the same time, if the antigen presenting cell display MHC1 molecule along with the antigen, then that will activate the memory T cells or cytotoxic T lymphocyte, and these memory T cells or the cytotoxic T lymphocytes are also activated by the TH cells. They are also activated by TH cells. And finally, they undergo clonal expansion and they remove the infected cell, or they kill the pathogen, and they prevent the establishment or spread of the infection to the surrounding healthy tissue, and the dead tissue will be removed. And these killer T cells, they exhibit cytotoxicity, and at the same time they retain the memory for the subsequent infection. So here infected cell will be processed by the antigen presenting cell, and it will present the antigen along with the MHC complex that will be recognized by different population of the T lymphocyte, and they undergo clonal expansion and they clear the infected tissue, and they retain the memory for the subsequent infection by the same pathogen. This is called cell mediated immune response. I hope you understood different types of cells involved in the cell mediated immunity, that is T H cells, T C cells and T regulatory cells, and you understood the mechanism of cell mediated immunity, how it will remove the infected cells or the cancer cells by TH cells or TC cells. Thank you.